This virus, it spreads like wildfire.
Welcome to Canadian Doctors Speak Out. We're going to give you the top reasons not to be afraid of COVID. When we hear the word COVID or coronavirus, we now instinctively reach for a mask or look around to see how we can protect ourselves and our families. No place really seems safe. But as Canadian medical doctors, we're going to tell you what the best science now has to say. And we think you'll be pleasantly surprised. On the TV, we hear cases, which would frighten anyone. But cases are not necessarily symptomatic people. And the vast majority have few or really no symptoms of being sick. They just have a positive PCR swab test. Research now shows that the PCR test is practically worthless. Only 3% of patients with a positive test actually have the COVID virus. Here's a graph showing the COVID cases reported each week in Canada. Even I get frightened looking at this graph. But now let's put the weekly deaths on the same chart. Where are all the deaths that we would expect to follow the cases curve? Something is really fishy here. Let's look at yearly deaths in Canada from 2001. It's pretty hard to show that we've even had a pandemic. The slight increase in 2020 was probably due to an aging population.
We have heard a lot about how children are COVID super spreaders. Terrified, we have shut down our schools, covered our children's beautiful faces with masks, but the science shows that none of this is warranted, and they're not the drivers of the pandemic.
Canada took a dramatic move toward legitimately dangerous authoritarianism. In Canada, yes. Here's just one measure of it. On Monday, the country's Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, outlined his government's new corona regulation. Canadians hoping to return to their country must be tested before and after takeoff, he said. Quote, if your test results come back positive, you'll need to immediately quarantine in designated government facilities. This is not optional. Designated government facilities. Now, when this happens in other countries, and it does, we call those facilities internment camps.
Just filed in the Ontario Superior Court. It's a constitutional challenge of the federal government's policy requiring incoming travelers to quarantine at their own cost at government contracted hotels. The cost is upwards of $2,000 per traveler, and in most cases, the cost is non-refundable, even if your results from your PCR test arrive within even a matter of hours. We're bringing this legal challenge as a public interest organization, but quarantine hotel policy, in our view, is exploitive and punitive at a cost of over $2,000 per traveler. And in fact, it actually exposes many travelers to even greater risk than they would be exposed to had they just returned to their own home.
The pitfalls of coming home to a quarantine.
That's not what I signed up for when I came back to Canada, and I did everything by the book.
The woman had a confirmed reservation and agreed to pay more than $1,000 for the mandatory quarantine package. But when the reserved room wasn't ready and other hotels were booked, she was sent by bus to a government-controlled one.
I said, where am I? And they said, we can't tell you. And I said, why can't you tell me where I am? And they said, we're not supposed to tell anybody.
Looks like the police have formed a cordon to keep people from taking pictures.
We're taking things that are, genetically modified organisms, and we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just shoot them right into the vein.
I've basically just been waiting to get the vaccine so that I could feel safe going out.
Things like that, which kind of suits my personality. I like it that way. Yeah.
And that's fair.
name is Chuck Black, and welcome to the Sixth Estate, where we focus on news, not agenda, by interviewing new media-focused journalists who tell stories the legacy media won't touch. And our guest tonight is Wayne Peters, who's been on here before. He's the owner of What's Up Canada. It's a digital news platform at whatsupcanada.org, and he's the organizer of the Ethics Over Fear collaborative news platform. And Wayne, thank you for coming. I'm hoping you'll tell me a little bit about this important new initiative.
Well, thanks for having me on again, Chuck. It's an honor to be here and share the amazing work that people are doing. When I started this journey, I started with What's Up Canada, and that's grown into something that I never ever dreamt when I first started dragging my boots across the country. But it's been it's such a blessing. It's helped me create a network of people that weren't necessarily always like-minded, but they knew something was wrong. And over the last 18 months, we've seen people come together in very specific, specific things that they're wanting to do something about. And with the common ground between all of us, this Covianism that we've all been subjected to for the last 18 months, it's given us such a clamor, such a noise. If anybody doesn't realize that we're in the middle of a war right now for the narrative, for our minds, for the discussion, for the information that we make decisions off of daily, then they're probably already out of the loop of reality if they're not aware that something is wrong with what's going on. So throughout this journey with What's Up Canada, I started to do some work with doctors. And 15 episodes later, we've this has shown us such a massive response, both not just in Canada, but actually internationally now, because we've done something that nobody else would do, was to bring people that were being censored on and give them a full platform, let them spew their truth so people can make educated decisions. And I realized that early on in that these doctors were functioning within their hearts, minds, and souls from a place that still maintained ethics. And this was something that we were seeing a very short supply of with people of influence and trust in our establishment. And by that I mean all branches of our establishment have not been acting ethically over the last 18 months, particularly, which is showing a huge break in these systems. So something started to assemble and take a life of its own, and it became the Ethics Over Fear Task Group. And this has been an entirely brand new adventure. It's been a collaboration now where this has evolved to of people that are experts in and have the credibility to speak out against the unethical practices of said establishments, be it medicine or law enforcement, politics, health and wellness, all of these things where ethics, people are put into places of trust. These are the places that this group, as an independent group, being completely a nonprofit organization driven by the grassroots people and volunteerism, so there is no ability for corruption to come into this. This is a collaborative network, a task group. And they've been working behind the scenes now for almost 2 months, and Chuck's been very, very in tune with what we've been developing there. So it's been a blessing to work with Chuck as well, because he understands the vision that this group has, and what we're able to start to achieve is to bring some teeth back to the people. And that's kind of what the idea is. So taking a natural approach to this, what I'd already established with my media platform, What's Up Canada, very quickly presented itself as an opportunity for the people to organize this group of I guess they're not really resistance. These are professionals that are looking at alternative means and measures outside of the box thinking to provide path to remedy. And so just to take responsibility for where we're at in Canada, these experts have come together. And now we've got an amazingly deep talent pool of doctors, physicians, scientists, media personnel, legal teams, investigators, health and wellness practitioners, everything under the sun that we could bring together to provide the support and the evidence and the testimony and the process to give some teeth back to the people. And part of that vision was to then be able to take our rightful place in the narrative, to provide a direct access to the source of the information from the people that are doing this, doing the work, doing the grinding, plug them directly into the new media, and then have a chance to put that out to the world and put the mainstream legacy medias on standby to say there's resistance out here, there's people. So this past Monday, I'm getting a little long-winded here, but we'll get into the good stuff.
We'll get to the punchline, and I want you to talk about how I'm not the only journalist in the organization. You're dealing with 24 others, but keep going along the same path.
And that's a really important point to make here. This task force group has now expanded to several dozen people, and the power hitters of policy change, people that are driving the legitimate, credible fights, the law cases, the legal cases, the challenges, putting up the actual tangible resistance, not just going out and protesting. This is not a group of protesters or activists. That is not what this group is. This is a very deep pool of professionals with now dozens of different journalists and platforms and groups that have come together that said, are realizing the opportunity of this. They get direct access to the truth. And this has kind of developed and evolved to our pilot project that we ran just this past Monday, where it was a confederated effort between, I believe there was 10 platforms, including Liberty Network, I believe. Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson, I believe, took part in that. Mark Friesen took part in that. Laura Hamilton, yourself, Freedom Forum, Noble Savages, and so this was kind of a unique precedent-setting event where all of the independent media came together in this just amazing collaboration to, at the same time, coast to coast, stream real experts putting their faces, their names, their careers on the screen to share hard truth with us so that we can at least be fighting from a place of unified knowledge and understanding. So this was the pilot. This was the first of 3 of these test projects. So this was 3 doctors in a panel addressing specific subjects. And this is where this is so important, because this isn't something that a lot of us find ourselves chasing things. When I'll do a story with somebody and then the next guy will book them for an event or a guest or a show, and so what ends up happening is it becomes daily. You were seeing the same thing every single day instead of seeing the same thing at one time across the country, so we can empower the whole population at once with the same information. So this is going to allow us to do so many different things. I think this is a massive opportunity for us to connect our echo chambers and turn them into some formidable fighting force in the narrative war. What do you think about that, Chuck?
I absolutely agree with you. Otherwise, I wouldn't be on board with it. I find it absolutely wonderful to have access to knowledgeable experts in law, in medicine, in government, able to answer questions in a systematic fashion and have that information go out into a large platform, have it go out over my network, have it go out over other people's network. It allows me to get an overview of what's going on, and then I can focus my efforts on pulling in the details, pulling in the components that matter to individuals or to smaller group. And it allows me to also validate my information through a larger network. Yourself, Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson, Laura Hamilton. I think there's about 20 of them, and I only know about half their names. But they've called me and they told me if I do something wrong, and it helps independently validate a lot of what we're doing. So I agree with you 100%. Is that what I'm supposed to think?
Well,
or
you hit on a really great point there. Then none of us are behind, right?
Yes.
We're all able to stay on the cutting edge of the battle where we need to be
Mm-hmm.
relevant to the communities that we're growing, right? So this is where I think this is probably the biggest opportunity lies for all of us. Instead of my audience having to wait 2 weeks for to hear from this one guest, we're able to connect our communities directly to the sources. Whoever is able to create that source, we're now going to be able to mass distribute that through a syndication of people to really drive the truth. It's not about driving our audiences or our platforms. And this is what is so beautiful about this is this is with getting this kind of buy-in, it's really delivering to the people what they need. And it's going to create and rebuild the trust in media that we need to have, because ultimately at the end of the day, the media is the only resistance against the establishment. Traditionally, typically, historically, that is the purpose of media, is to expose and hold those to account. And that ball got dropped by the legacy. They became weapons of the establishment. So there was nobody left to expose them or to hold them to account. So this is the massive opportunity that is created by all of this. And really, each of the smaller independent outlets, I mean, we do okay as far as for reach wise. We do okay as far as for engagement wise. On any given week, we can have equal numbers to CBC. But why wouldn't we create that same level of knowledge to the entire country if we could? Right? It's not explaining just my audience, it's everybody's audience.
No, I would agree. I would also say that we're not just building an audience. You've told me about this offline. Laura has told me this offline, and other people have mentioned that we're not only building and growing an audience, we're developing communities who can directly interact with us. They can ask us questions, we can answer questions back, and we can interact, and we can do something that the legacy media used to do on the letters to the editors, but doesn't do anymore. And with that in mind, I think a gentleman named Ruben Metcalf asks a question. Can you see that, Wayne?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Let's answer his question.
What kind of shifts do we look forward to? Wow. That's a really great question, because it's going to allow the shift that I see is that it's going to bring our communities into the same fight at the same time. When we can compare notes about who's doing what to who and realize that it's the same thing being implemented at the same time, it's going to be a whole lot more efficient and for us to counter that through the education, because we're all discussing not just the trespass but the remedy as well. And I want to thank you for correcting me and reminding me on that, because honestly that's usually something that I preach all the time, is the difference between community and audience. And this was something that through my background before I launched What's Up Canada, I understood this, and this was my bread and butter. That was my business, was building community for people. And this was one of the hardest things for me to teach people as I started to work with people within the resistance, because we work from the foundation of knowledge that we have. Most of us understood radio, we understood TV. You created something, you built it, and you blasted it out. That is media. We are not taking advantage of the biggest weapon in this war, social media. We forget about the social in the media. And that was one of the things that set my platform differently from the beginning, I believe, is everybody gets acknowledged on my platform. You get acknowledged, you get recognized. This is how we create community. Hi, I see you. You're not alone. You exist. I know you exist. This is a difference between broadcasting and creating community. And that community empowerment, that is what I see this larger footprint leading into the biggest difference. And as you said, having that engagement, that relationship with these doctor talks, we're able to take real-time questions. People can submit questions. They can email us questions in advance, and we can literally real-time get answers that people are looking for, and make a direct connection with the media and the sources real time. I don't think that any amount of money could replace that or buy that.
I agree with that 100%. I think that's one of the major failures of the legacy media over the last 20 years. They've dropped their letters to the editor's page. They've set up websites. They post on YouTube, and they don't allow their readers or their viewers to comment. And they don't directly interact. When I was a kid in Winnipeg, the Winnipeg Free Press had a website, and they actually made the people who wrote the stories respond to the people who put in queries and questions, and losing that ability just increasingly detached legacy media organizations from reality. And I'm very glad that you and all those other people with the Ethics Over Fear campaign are at least trying to bring that back.
It's one of the fundamentals in the whole thing of Ethics Over Fear is not to just we've got a group of people that are able to take a look at things from different altitudes, and that is so key. A lot of people out there, they're putting up such a gallant struggle and fight, but they cannot realize or see perhaps sometimes that they're fighting the fire that is in the tree directly in front of them. And they cannot do that on their own. They cannot beat the fire in that tree. But if they take a step back and 20 paces, and they can see that the whole forest is on fire, well, then we can collectively work together as a village to put that fire out. And that's the only way that we're going to stop this forest fire. This is what is really enabling people to really grasp and do, especially with this task force, and understanding that just the fire in front of us needs to be addressed as well. So the primary focus of this, the tip of the Ethics Over Fears group, is to create an intervention. If we see ethical improprieties, this is the tip of the spear. This is where we go in. But at the end of it, there's a healing process, and there has to be something on the other side. We cannot just create interventions and leave the victims on the street. So the backside of Ethics Over Fear is to create a pathway to understanding, to a softer landing. Like, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a health expert. I'm a warrior, and I'm a journalist, and I can take part in the intervention. But we have to have networks of people that can fulfill the other requirements that are going to be sorely needed for us to heal again on the other side. What is the point of fighting this fight if we don't have a plan, if we don't have a vision, if we're not going to care about each other on the other side of it? So this is what Ethics Over Fear has been assembling with so many different specialists, and the development that is coming out of that, by bringing together all of this experience and knowledge and assets and skills, the programs that are coming out of this, the stuff that is being created is just, it gives me chicken skin thinking about this. We have the fortune to work with the pioneers of trauma therapy in North America are there every day giving us help and counsel and advice on how to understand things, how to better cope, and not just for the victims that are out there, but the warriors in the fight as well. This is just one example or sample of the things
I agree.
that we're going to create through this.
I'm going to ask you a hard question now. I saw your first show, really good. 3 doctors talking about variants, very knowledgeable. One was world respected in his field in this area. Very good interview. What do you plan for a follow-up? What do you plan for upcoming shows? Give us a hint.
Well, The best hint I can give you is how this broke up into 3 separate panels. Was it started out with the how this developed was the group of doctors that had challenged Doug Ford. So my intent initially was to give all 9 of them a platform. So we realized, and I've seen people trying to do some, you get 6 or 8 or 10 guests on there. The conversation ping pongs all over the place. So we wanted to get focused and bring the experts to the table that were able to discuss things specifically. And so over the next couple, this coming Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, Dr. Byram Bridle, the most controversial doctor in Canada right now, will be leading the discussion on this coming Monday, joined with a couple of other ones. It's travel season, trying to juggle half a dozen of the world's best experts and scientists into a schedule is quite a challenge, we'll say. But Dr. Bridle will be there, as well as a couple of others that will not disappoint, and it will absolutely bring your notepad because you are going to take an information drink from the fire hose.
That sounds like a wonderful thing to watch and to listen to. One more hard question. How do people find you online?
Oh, I am so excited by what is coming. Again, more development. One of the things being, as grassroots, true blue grassroots as we are, we don't have a sponsorship. We don't have corporations. We don't advertise. So we depend entirely on grassroots donations. So this determines how effective we are in the fight is directly correlated to the community, right? We can only fight with the supplies that we have. But we are getting to the point where we are about to launch for What's Up Canada a cutting edge new platform that is going to allow us to create, host, and promote all of this confederated media live streaming from one place, one time, one platform with libraries of past stuff. And the best part of this is it's not going to be North America based. These people will be able to speak freely with absolutely zero censorship guaranteed, because we are building this outside of our intelligence agency's reach. So this is a significant part of that. And you can find the launch of that coming on whatsupcanada.org. This is, again, born out of necessity. They want to keep wiping me out by doing business with corrupt individuals here that are for sale. So be it. We'll take it elsewhere, and we will make it indestructible. And that's exactly what we've done. And over the next couple of days, you'll be able to get updates from the stories that we're going to be covering at Ethics Over Fear. You'll be able to see that first on What's Up Canada. But ethicsoverfear.com is right now, it's there. People can sign up for updates. They can get involved. They can volunteer. The content is coming yet. There was no point in investing on a platform that we were going to replace. We're building 2 platforms at once like nobody's ever seen before. Even Alex Jones is going to be jealous.
Oh dear. I don't think Alex Jones is jealous of anybody. He's fearless.
I'm just teasing.
But I'm hoping we can give him a run for his money.
Well, if he's probably, and I use him as an analogy because he's probably one of the most outspoken journalists out there. He's the easiest one to throw a stick at as far as for the the independent media, and for people like that to show that you can build something that can be outside of the censorship. You can get past it. This is what we want to show, build, and duplicate for the fighters out there.
I look forward to going along on the journey with you, Wayne. And with that said and done, I thank you for being on the show. And my name's Chuck Black. You're watching The Sixth Estate, and we've been speaking with Wayne Peters about the Ethics Over Fear collaboration platform. I call it a collaboration platform because I just see all these people working together. The show tonight was directed by Ed Jamnasik using StreamYards with intros and extras compiled by Angela Argentina. And during the week, I edit the Freedom Forum News website at freedomforumcanada.com. And much like Wayne, if you like what you see, contribute to our production. Visit our fundraising page at freedomforumcanada.com/fund_raising. And that's all for tonight. Ed, if you could play the extra. Ed, if you could play.
Hello, my name is Mike Bayer. I'm currently working in Toronto, Canada as an independent investigative journalist with Free Speech Media.
Would you mind explaining how you helped them and what it is that you did for my colleagues and friends? Escape Chinata.
You are watching Carib Vision.
I don't know if we need to. I just did a